Right, well, before we get into this exactly, the things you need to prepare or go with, I recommend going with your V5, a good attitude, your V5, and a cleanish bike. My MOT guy knows me now, so he knows that when I show up my bike's going to be filthy, and he kind of just deals with it. He's not too fussed, but you know, it's always best to go with a nice clean bike. Things I look for when I go for an MOT places, I like MOT places where you can see the MOT being done, you can see the MOT being carried out, or they do it with you. I prefer places that do it with you, because then you can see exactly where it's failed. He can point out right there and then. I don't like MOT places where they whisk it away to the back room, they check it and bring it out. I'd always prefer to see it be, you know, or help it being done. I just like to see it being done, because then you know exactly where it's failed, rather than coming back and telling you, oh, it's failed here, and what do you mean where? And then they have to go around, show you where it's failed. It's far more quicker just to see where it failed there and then, going, oh yeah, fair enough, you know. So, the MOT, something that we all kind of fear, but it's not really nothing to fear, really. I'm going to go through everything that an MOT tester would do, well, on this bike, and yeah, I think it should pass, but it's something that you should be checking probably on a regular basis anyway. It's not really a massive checklist. For cars, it's a big list. For bikes, not so much, and in most countries they don't even have them, and they don't have any problems with it either, because most bikes are safe because people don't want to ride a death trap. Anyway, once you realise what's involved in MOT, you realise that someone selling a bike with no MOT to someone selling a bike with an MOT, there's not a big difference in it, to be honest. To get a bike for an MOT doesn't take a lot nowadays, well, or ever really. But anyway, so we'll go through some of the myths as well. But the first thing, the MOT examiner is probably not out to get you. He just wants to get it passed and get out of his shop and get another one. You can actually go to the government website and put up the list of everything they do, and it's called the MOT inspection checklist. So this is only what your bike is checked on and only what it can fail on. If they fail for something else, which we'll go through at the end, then possibly change MOTers. Anyway, so let's look at this list. So first on the list is handlebar controls, brakes, throttle, clutch lever, horn, bumps, tests and steering. So how they would normally do that is bump test would be just that, as long as it's coming back nice and smooth. The rear, make sure it's coming nice and smooth. Usually they jump up and down on the bike, make sure it's okay. The steering, head bearings, stuff like that, what they'll do is they raise the entire bike up, but I'm using this bike easy enough to get the front wheel off on a slight hill. There we go, so you can just feel, you know, I'm barely touching the bike, it's all lent on its balance point, and I can feel everything, and it seems fine. Okay, so controls. Come around to the front of the bike and just check your suspension, see if you've got any nice fresh oil marks, anything like that. No, nice and dry, that's okay, we can live with that. Headlamps, if fitted. Oh yes, so front suspension, headlamps and indicators. So headlamp needs to be aiming, I can't show this because I've got a wall, but it needs to be not too high in the sky, not too low. It needs to be just sort of like on this balance point, which often we kind of forget about, and I often have to go to the MOTers with the tools in my pocket just to hand him saying, sorry, it's a little bit off, you know, because usually I've crashed this bike or dropped it and it's messed up the aim, and I've adjusted it but not correctly, so we just have to make some adjustments. Same as if I was taking my BMW out and I take a passenger on the back, I adjust my headlight to compensate, probably forget to readjust it back, so that sort of thing. If you've got a load of luggage on the thing, I adjust the headlight to compensate for the extra weight on the back, and it's only a little bit, but that will put it just up or below within tolerances. But he puts it on a whiteboard or whatever, and it, you know, so it's all measured and stuff. Front mud guard, you do kind of need one, even if it's a stupid stubby little thing. As long as you've got one, you've got one. I've managed to pass MOTs without one as an advisory. So front wheels, bearings, tyre, front brake. Okay, so this is easy enough. Check the tyre. Get down on my little pocket camera here. You can see I've got loads of tread left. Don't need to worry about that. So don't need to worry about the tread. Rear suspension. Sorry, no, we're on the front wheel. Sorry. Head bearings, front suspension, wheels. Okay. So the brake we know is okay, but you just check to make sure there's no cracks or anything in the disc. You can, on this one I can see directly down there, and I can see that there's pads on the left and right, so I've got some pads left, probably about 25% of my pads left, I reckon. Then lifting the bike up off the wheel, there's no movement at all, left or right, up or down, nothing there. No movement like that, which is what we want. We don't want any of that. Off side of the machine, frame looks okay, no cracks, nothing like that. That looks okay. Exhaust, yeah, it's getting there, but it's not quite there yet, so that's fine. Don't have to worry about that. Yep, they're just checking to make sure everything's like secure and stuff, and that's all they're trying to do. It's to make it minimum safety, nothing to do with how it runs. It can run like a piece of smoking rubbish, barely starting. Idles on the red line, but it can still pass an MOT. Okay, so rear wheel time now. So, you know, they look at the rear tyre, they say, oh, you've got plenty of tread left for the road, but do you take this off-road? And he probably laughs and says, huh, you've barely got anything left, because, well, we got tread left, so that's fine. And rear brakes, new disc is on there, and I've got new pads in there, so we know that's okay. Testing the wheel bearings. Now, I did actually change the rear wheel bearings on this recently, as of, like, when did I change it? A few days ago. So they should be fine. It's on the rear wheel. Don't move handlebar. Okay, we're fine. Just checking that, left to right, that is motion. You need to have the bike off the ground to do this properly. See, there's no movement. Whack it back down. No problem. No problem there at all. Then you test the bike for brakes and judders, something that you should notice when you're riding the bike, and if you notice that straight away, then investigate the reason why it's doing that, because it's not particularly safe. My rear brake was starting to do that, so I investigated, realised I had a warped disc, but that disc has been on there a long time, so you know what, it could do with a new one, it was fine. Headlamp, what we're doing, oh yes, headlamp aimed with the rider on machine. That's what I said about earlier. Yeah, you need to do that. And you need to do the brake test. Now, some places they make you sit on the bike and they put it towards you. They do the rolling stop test. I've been to quite a few different MOT places. They all do it sort of differently. So they all take their different eyes and look at it. Of course, they always check for chain and sprockets. We're looking at the other side of the bike now. So yeah, just the sides of the bike. Make sure you've got chain and sprocket, stuff like that. Mine's okay, so we're gonna make sure it's not too slack, etc. The brake test we've done, yeah, efficiency, gravel, judders. If it judders and you're going at speed and you're really slamming on the brake and it judders, that could be ABS. My BMW 650 has overly aggressive ABS. It's the cheaper, older models of ABS. So try it at slower speeds or with the ABS off and it still judders, then you've probably got a warped disc. And that's it. Now, what your bike can and fail and can pass and can fail on, the most common thing is like exhausts. Is it too noisy? Is it too, you know, it's one of them hard things. That is down to the examiner's discretion. This bike, I'm sure that if I took this bike to some places it would pass, and some other places would be, you know, it'd pass as an advisory. Most of it, this bike is always passing as an advisory for the exhaust, because it is an aftermarket exhaust. It is a bit louder than the stock one, and it does have a little bit of a rattly baffle. So when it's on its side stand, it sounds louder than when it's going along. But the baffle's still in there. That's the main point, and the MOT instructor can see it's in there. If you have any warning lights on your dashboard or something like that, in a car that can be a fail. If you have the ABS light on, that's a fail. Or airbag warning light or something like that, that's a fail. On a motorbike, you could have every single dashboard warning light coming up. It could light up like a Christmas tree. It could, when you start the engine up, it could make some horrible warning noises and stuff like that. It's not included in the test, therefore it can't fail on it, so it's a pass. Now here's what a lot of people do. A lot of people get stressed because they don't have a speedo on their bike sometimes. It's like, a speedo is not an MOT failure. It's a law requirement that you need to know roughly how fast you're going, within like 10% or whatever it is. I've got a speedo on this, I've got the dash, I've got all that, but on one of my bikes I don't. And there's also another rule about age of related vehicles and CC of vehicles. If it's under a certain CC and it's over a certain age, it doesn't need a speedo. And that's a, you know, having a speedo is a law requirement, but it's not an MOT failure. Number plates. Now if you have a small number plate or something like that, or one of the black number plates, can your bike fail an MOT? The wording on the MOT actual testing for license plates is something along the lines of, is it legible? So it is down to MOT's discretion, that one. So you could have a tiny plate, you could have the wrong font, you could have a show plate, you could have a black plate. Whatever it is, as long as it's legible, the MOT attester doesn't really care. Of course, it's one of those things where it's not an MOT failure, it's a law requirement. But I just thought I'd make this video explaining about MOTs and what I do with them, how I beat them, not beat them, get past them. If you do the bare minimum, you can get past an MOT. You shouldn't do the bare minimum, you should do overboard, to be honest, when it comes to bikes, because they're tested far less rigorously than a car, and you're far more likely to come a cropper on one of these. Well, maybe not one of these, but you know what I mean, a bike in general. So I hope you found this video helpful. The wind to die down there.
Well, I hope you found this video helpful and interesting. Sorry for all the wind noise. Like, comment, whatever, and I'll catch you next video. Ciao.